Welcome to Flash Tutorial Request 39, Between Scenes. The easiest way to explain what the request was is to show you what the problem was first. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact me at flashthingy@hotmail.com. So I'll show you the problem. This is scene 1. And this button, when you click, becomes invisible. So it's gone. When you click this button, you jump to scene 2. Now, this takes me back to scene 1. And the person wants this button that was made invisible to be invisible when you return to scene 1. So let's start by showing you what I have. You have to be able to use the drawing tools. You have to be able to make movie clips and or buttons. I will show you the code you need, but the drawings and the how to make the buttons and movie clip symbols, you must know how to do that. So I'm on scene 1. I'm going to hide all the layers and one by one show you what I have on the layers. I have a layer called Red. If I unlock it, there's basically two things. There's some text, just straight text, which I embedded. By that I mean I clicked embed, clicked these four uppercase, lowercase numbers and punctuations and clicked OK so that my fonts can be transferred on. And the second thing I have on this layer Red is this button. And if I look on here in the properties panel, it's a button and has the instance name SQSC1_BTN. I also have this other button here on this scene 1. If I open the properties panel, it's called VISRED_BTN. This button is going to send me to scene 2. The name doesn't really jive, but that's because I've been playing around and changing them around. But at this point in time, for the explanation, I'm calling this button VISRED_BTN. And on this layer, I have some action script, which we'll go through shortly. Now I have a scene 2. If you go up here under Insert, click Insert, then click this Scene button. And when you click it and open it up, it'll have made you a scene 2. And in your case, you'll see scene 2, and that's when you're going to build this. Click here on the scene button, scene 2. It has a layer. I'll lock them and show you one at a time again. I have very similar. I have the text, say in scene 2, and I have a button. If I open the button, information under the properties panel, it's called SQSC2, as in square scene 2_BTN, and it is a button. Okay, and I have some action script here. So let's look at the action script I have on scene 1 first, so you can see how this works, or in the case of the request, how it doesn't work. Very simple. The button, the big red one, it has an event listener. First of all, I have a stop, STOP, open close bracket semicolon, and this code says SQSC1_BTN. That's this big square red button, period. Add event listener, small a, capital E, capital L, all turns blue. Open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, period. And this word click is all capitals, CLICK, comma, and I'm going to say make invisible, MAKEINV, capital M, capital I. Just copy that while you're after you type it in. Close bracket, semicolon, and here's the function, FUNCTION. Paste in make inv. Open bracket, event turns blue, colon, mouse events. Capital M, capital E, close bracket, colon, void. Void and function are the same color. There's the open curly bracket for this function. There's the closed curly bracket for the function, which usually comes in as you're typing this. And it says SQSC1 underscore BTN, that's that button we're talking about, period, visible, VISIBLE, turns blue, equals false, turns blue, semicolon. So that's what's going to make it disappear. The other button was called VisRed, that's the blue one, VISRED underscore BTN. It's the same thing, this line here, this add event listener most click event, that's the same, so you can copy that line if you want. But here we're going to make scene 2, SCENE, capital S, 2, close bracket, semicolon, copy that scene 2. Down here, function, there's the scene 2, and this is the same line as this one, this most event, colon, void, open bracket, and here we're going to say movie clip, capital M, capital C, open bracket, this period root, small t, small r, close bracket, period, go to and play, small g, small t, capital A, capital P, that will turn blue, open bracket, 1, comma, that's frame 1, and then in quotation marks, quotation, scene 2, capital S, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon, and there's the closed curly bracket. So the square button, the big one, will make this disappear, and the blue button, when I press it, it will send me to scene 2. So now let's look at the logic in scene 2. So click here, go to scene 2. And all this is going to do is send me back. So this is much the same. You could have copied some of that and brought it here. Again, there's a stop, open close bracket, semicolon, SQSC2 underscore BTN, that's the blue square here, period, add event listener, open bracket, most event, comma, click, period, go to scene 1, G, capital T, capital S, copy it, close bracket, semicolon, close bracket, semicolon, there's function, paste in, go to scene 1, open bracket, event, colon, most event, capital M, capital E, close bracket, colon, void, open curly bracket for the function, close curly bracket for the function, and the same thing. Movie clip, open bracket, this, period, root, close bracket, period, go to and play, open bracket, 1 as in frame 1, comma, quotation, scene 1, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon, and there's my closed curly bracket. Now again, the problem with this is we want that back on scene 1. When we come back to scene 1, we want to make sure this red block is invisible. And it doesn't work right now. We know that. It's making it invisible. We're jumping to scene 2. We're jumping back to scene 1, but it's staying visible. Let's open the actions panel on scene 1. And very top, after the stop, type in this variable. The variable VAR turns purple. RED VIS, capital R, capital V, that's our to detect whether it's visible or not. Colon, number, NUMBER, capital N turns blue, equals 1, semicolon. Click the end of that line, put a couple lines in, and type in this code. Type. It's a test. We're testing this variable we just made. If IF turns the same color as var, open bracket, red vis, that REDVIS, equals, this is a test, 0, close bracket. So this is a test to see if that new variable is equal to 0. It won't be because it's a 1. Open curly bracket, SQSC1 underscore MC, BTN, that button that we just made right here, this red one, period, visible, V-I-S-I-B-L-E, turns blue, equals false, F-A-L-S-E, semicolon, and close curly bracket. So that means that right now, when we start this thing, this variable will make this become a 1, so this test won't be true. And here, where we're pressing this button, which actually makes itself invisible, put a line in here, type. That variable we just made, that rid viz, we're going to say make it a 0. So now, how does this work? When we first start, this variable is a 1, so this test does nothing. When I click on the rid button, I make it disappear, but before it disappears, it makes that variable a 0, so that when I jump to scene 2 now, I then press the blue button, it goes back to scene 1, and you may think that it should work, but it won't. Let's test it. Make sure there's no errors first of all. That's good. This works, disappears. This sends me to scene 2, but this sends me to scene 1, but it didn't disappear because on this scene 1, this variable is making it a 1 again. So this is what we got to do. We're on scene 1, main timeline. Click off to the side, highlight all those 3 in one motion, get that fuzzy square, drag it to the right once. Click on that actions layer, open the actions panel, cut this line, right click, cut, go back to the main timeline, select frame 1 of the actions layer, and paste it in. Let's go back to the timeline, and scene 2. Select the actions layer, open the actions panel, and before, when we returned to scene 1, we went back to frame 1, and everything was on frame 1. So now what we want to do is go back to frame 2, right here, and then we won't reset that variable. Let's give this a test. If I click this red button, it disappears. This sends me to scene 2. Now I'm going to go back to scene 1, frame 2, and the red will be still invisible. That works. Very good. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you use what you learned.